Hi, I'm Brock. This is my assistant Joelle. She's going to be demonstrating the deadlift for this assignment. So for the deadlift, the way we set up for the deadlift is a nice narrow stance with our feet, and we want our hands right outside of our legs. So she's going to set up at the bottom. We're only going to be focusing on the concentric phase of the deadlift, which is the lifting phase from the ground to an extended position. So as she lifts through this movement, we can see that her hips and her shoulders raise at the same time. Let's do one from the side. So move it to the side. You can see that her hips and shoulders stay in a nice triangle position from her knees, hips, and shoulders, moving through with the barbell nice and close to the body. All right, the first thing we're going to do for this assignment is measure the amount of time that it takes her to lift the bar from the ground to the locked out position. So when she lifts, I'm going to start the clock, and when she finishes with her hips open, I'm going to end it, and we'll see how long it takes her. So here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. It took her 0.68 seconds. All right, the next thing we're going to do is talk about the positioning of the deadlifts and the different joints during this movement. So the deadlift is going through the sagittal plane, which means it's going front and back rather than side to side or twisting. So when she starts in the very bottom position, her ankle is in a dorsiflex position, and as she goes up, it'll go into a more neutral or a plantar flexion. Okay, go back down. Talking about the knee, it is in a flex position at the bottom, and as she lifts the barbell up, she is extending the knee. And the same thing with the hip. The hip is in flexion at the bottom, and as she rises up, goes into extension. The spine stays in a neutral or a isometric hold or position as she's moving through it. You can see from the side position, you can look at all the different joints as she extends, lifting the barbell. All right, the next thing we're going to do is measure the displacement of the barbell moving from the bottom position up to the locked out position. So if we measure the distance from the ground to the barbell, we can see that it's 8 inches, and then she's going to lift it up to the locked out position with her hips open. We'll measure it from the ground to the barbell, and we see it's roughly 28 inches. So we find that the distance of the barbell traveling is 20 inches. If we convert that to meters, it's roughly 0.5 meters. So the barbell's displacement is 0.5 meters. So the next thing is velocity. So for velocity, we divided the meters, which is 0.5, by the seconds it took for her to lift the barbell, which is 0.68, and that equaled 0.73 meters per second. So that's the velocity, is 0.73. For the acceleration, we took the velocity, which is 0.73, minus the initial velocity, which is 0, and then we divided that by the time, which was 0.68, and that equals 1.07 meters per second squared. The last thing we're going to talk about is the lever system for the deadlift. So each of the major joints in this movement are all third-class levers. So when she bends down, we're talking about the hips, the knee, and the ankle. So starting with the hips is the axis during the movement. The load is in the barbell that she's lifting, and the force that's doing the work is her hamstring muscles. So that's for the hip. The knee is also a third-class lever. The knee acts as the axis, the load is in the barbell, and her force lifting the barbell and moving the knee to an extended position is her quad muscles. For the ankle is also a third-class lever, and it acts as the axis. The barbell is the load, and the force is in her gastrocnemius. So those are the three different movements, or the levers, for the deadlift.